requires a municipal sponsor.
To sponsor on behalf of a non-for-profit or other type of
Anybody,
organization.
right.
Along with this motion, there would be, we have several applications. I don't know if you reviewed them, Tony, or if the supervisor has. It's the ones that you've provided.
Yeah, the application to Senator Gillibrand has also been sent to Senator Schumer and Assemblyman Maffei, or Congressman Maffei.
Have those already been submitted?
They were all sent together, conditioned upon the board's approval.
Now, in
The deadlines for all those are actually like last Friday. So if you don't get them in by the deadline, you miss the appropriation.
in the applications, as I was reviewing them, there's a portion that indicates that, which is fine, the highest level of person at the organization, meaning who the congressperson may contact, would be the supervisor, obviously, which is fine. Then the next question on each of the applications is a lobbyist or government affairs representative for the organization, and there's a listing of a David Horn. Do you have any information on that?
David Horn's the lobbyist for Loretto in Washington.
Okay. The way that the application portrays it is if David Horn is acting on behalf of the town of Cicero.
No, he's acting on behalf of, his name had to be put in there, but he's acting on behalf of Loretto. If there was contact needed for Loretto, he would be the person.
Is there any obligation that the town of Cicero has to David Horn, because he submitted in this application, he's listed as the government affairs or representative for, he's actually listed as our representative in this, the way this reads, both of them.
Unfortunately, we couldn't change the form. That's the way the form is. We have no obligation to him whatsoever.
Once if the funds are approved and allocated, how will they be divided and given to the town, or provided to Loretto? Do we receive the funds in our account and then dispersed?
That almost never happens.
Okay.
They'll be run through either an agency or through the congressman's office or whatever, but they won't come directly to us. Most of these grants would be the type of thing where the money would have to be spent and that would be reimbursed. Similar to the grant that we have in Brewerton. It'll be run through an agency of the state, most likely. The grant for Brewerton, for example, runs through the Department of Transportation, the State Department of Transportation. They handle the actual dollars and disbursements. These, I assume, would be the same way. We don't know whether we're going to get it at all or whether they're going to get it, but it would run in a similar fashion.
But we're absolutely sure there's no financial obligation by the town.
It's in the
I knew that, but I wanted to say that.
Yes.
Is there any cost associated with the, I don't know if, Tony, if there's any cost associated with the preparation of the application, or if Drew just handling this through Judy?
No, there was no charge at all for the preparation of the application.
Who did that?
Horn did most of it. We submitted some information to him for the town's purposes, but the lobbyist actually did the applications because he was in direct contact with Gillibrand's office and Schumer.
So Mr. Horn prepared the application really on behalf of the town?
Right. But again,
without any compensation, or asking of any compensation?
From us, that's correct.
With this grant application, there are letters of support from Senator David Valesky, from Assemblyman Al Sturpey, from County Executive Tony Mahoney. I think that was all. So there's 3 letters of support that went with this.
Any further discussion?
Well, my only concern is the lobbyist in Washington drafting stuff on behalf of the town of Cicero. I know
we approved it all, Jared. It all came back to us. He did it. There was no charge to the town. If
right.
I did it, there would have been a charge, but he did it. He did it in coordination with our information that we gave him and our approval of the document.
Right.
And it was submitted that way.
Right. And I know Mr. Horn is also a lobbyist for many of the big firms such as Freddie Mac and JP Morgan and those type of firms, so I know he's pretty reputable. In that respect, he's a big time lobbyist. The question I always have is, there's nothing out there for free, so
Whatever
I'm
he's
skeptical.
Whatever he's getting, Loretto's paying, not us.
Mm.
We're basically sponsoring it anyway. Loretto is the applicant.
Well, I don't have a problem with us either making a committal that we support this application, but my question, the town of Cicero itself with the outstanding liability, if the funds, these particular funds are used to be used for infrastructure, correct?
Right.
Roads, whatnot. If those funds are not, say they allocate $1.6 million for the infrastructure, if those costs run above and beyond $1.6 million, who then is liable for any of those costs?
It's the same thing as if there's no funds at all, Loretto's gonna pay the bill, not us. So if we don't get the grants, Loretto's still obligated to do the infrastructure work, they'd be paying that out of their pocket. What they're looking for is grants from the government to help them, that's all. So if the charges or if the costs go above and beyond that, that's Loretto's responsibility, not ours.
Do you have anything in writing that says that this particular grant has to be done through a municipality as opposed to Loretto applying for it themselves?
I can get that for you, I don't have it with me right now. I'll be happy to get that for you.
Anything else? From the board? So we'll have input from the audience after.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Conway?
I would just like to say, I think that, I'd like to see that in writing prior to. Is there any issue with, if this matter was deferred, or does it have to be done tonight?
It's gotta be done tonight, the deadlines are actually, we're past the deadlines for the appropriations. So if it's not done tonight, they're not gonna be considered in the current appropriations request for the fiscal year.
Mr. Conway?
Did we have a second? Who
Yes.
second?
Yes, Jessica did. Judy and Jessica. Mr.
Yes.
Conway? Mr. Jennings?
Yes.
Ms. Zambrano?
Yes.
Mr. Coro?
No.
Ms. Boyke?
Yes. With that, I'll make a motion to go into executive session in regards to, Tony, could you speak to that just so I do it correctly?
This is, executive session will be in regard to a tax certiorari matter that's pending before the town.
Is that the only issue?
That's your motion.
Is that the motion?
The motion is to go into executive session regarding the tax certiorari for roads.
A second.
And with that,
We have to vote.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Jennings?
Yes.
Ms. Zambrano?
Yes.
Mr. Coro?
Yes.
And Ms. Boyke?
yes, and we are inviting
Mr. Brennan.
Mr. Brennan, Mr. Rivers-Igno, and the town board.
Tired, just tired.